Welcome into the newest episode of the Hoth Hangout podcast. We've got another episode of the Bad Batch to break down today. Some brief, kind of new news about the Mandalorian, and lots of just fun Star Wars content in general. But before we hop all into that, Joey, what's going on? How are you doing, man?
Doing well, doing well. Yeah, just excited. Had a Valentine's Day yesterday with the
Yeah.
family. Didn't do too much. We just had Japanese food. Little sushi, little chicken katsu.
Ooh.
Ooh, it's some good stuff.
Okay. Question for you. And if you're watching the video version of the podcast, comment down below your answer to the question as well. Joey, favorite type of sushi?
Favorite sushi? So I like is it called nigiri where it's like the fish that's just on top of rice and not
Oh,
necessarily rolled up in like seaweed. So I like that
okay,
style
nice.
better. Then I think it's called maki. I'm probably completely butchering all of the sushi. Every sushi connoisseur is going to come in here like that's wrong. But yeah, it's like the little pad of rice, and then there's like a piece of fish on top of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Normally like a salmon belly or
Mm.
something like that. So those I like those more than the rolls that you see inside of seaweed. So, but yeah, so probably like a salmon, like a fatty salmon on top of some rice, a little bit of wasabi. Dip it in the. Oh man, I gotta go. I'm gonna go get some right now. So, yeah. What about you?
I think it's called, is it called Mahi Mahi? I think that's the
Mm.
name. I've had it like twice and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever."
What kind of stuff's in it? Do you remember?
It was a roll and I wish I could remember everything that was in it. I'm not a wasabi fan. I'm kind of a wimp when it comes to the spice. At least with sushi, I don't really like it to be spicy.
It's a little
Um,
intense. Wasabi can
yeah.
be intense.
Yeah, but mahi mahi, I can't. I wish I could remember everything else that was in the roll, but mainly just the rice and the wrap and the fish, of course. But that was my go-to when the last time I had
Yeah, we'll
sushi
we'll go
was.
get sushi the next time you're in town.
That is a deal. That is a deal. I'll be in town. Side note, in October.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
A live show in October.
Live
Yeah,
recording of the Hoth Hangout podcast coming to
in
a
the
platform
studio
near
here.
you.
The
Yeah,
studio
that
here.
would that would actually be really cool. Let's plan on it maybe that
Yeah.
we could get that in the works. But yeah, we've got a great episode of the Bad Batch to break down for all of you. And of course, before we get into all of that, if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or on YouTube, first of all, thank you for listening or watching to the watching the Hoth Hangout podcast. Appreciate each and every single one of you. And if you're ever interested in hitting us up over on Twitter, we are there at Hoth Hangout. And again, you can also email us, hothhangout@gmail.com. And as Joey pointed out in our most recent episode of the Hoth Hangout podcast, we are now on TikTok, also at Hoth Hangout. Check us out over there as well. Um, the source for all Star Wars podcast content over on TikTok.
That's right. We're gonna be the first ones out there doing it.
Yep, yep, yep. Well, so to hop into the Bad Batch episode, this was episode 9, titled "The Crossing," the first episode of the second half of the second season of the Bad Batch. Um, I felt kind of mixed feelings about this episode. I think there was kind of tones of similarity to a few weeks ago where it was kind of like, all right, it's time for another Sid side quest sort of thing. But it didn't feel quite as just meh to me as some of the other ones did. I think there was points in this episode that I really gravitated towards, and I was glad that they were a part of the episodes. And I'll get into that here briefly. Just as kind of a general overview, the Bad Batch, who is now down a member in Echo, is now just the 4 of them. And of course, this is kind of an episode of growth, really, for Omega and Tech in particular. That this is the part of the episode that I did appreciate because Tech was really the only member of the Bad Batch that had not kind of had like a special moment with Omega yet. And so I was glad that we got that in this episode because now it feels like Omega has this sort of deeper connection with each member of the Bad Batch. Tech kind of had felt like maybe the odd person out for who hadn't really like connected with Omega. And again, part of that is because Tech is just not he's the least emotional of anyone in the Bad Batch, which comes out in the episode. And they make a point of it and they talk about it. But this mission they're on is in order to excavate a mineral known as ipsium, or maybe it's not a mineral. It was kind of more of like a serum almost that once they were extracting it, which is valuable but also very combustible, as we learn in the episode multiple times. However, they're as they've been notified by Sid, there's poachers in the area, so she tells them to be careful of that. Long story short, the Marauder gets stolen, and there ends up being what I called in my notes a Lion King stampede.
I wish you could see my notes. It says the same thing.
And in order to protect the ipsium, Wrecker just like jumps on top of it and like prevents the wildebeest like animals from running it over. And in the process of this, the reason the wildebeest are running is from the storm. Tech loses the ipsium in the storm. It blows up, causes this pile of rocks to cover them in a cave, trapping them. Long story short, Omega kind of has this confrontation with Tech, like, why are you, not being more upset about Echo not being with us, sort of thing. You can tell it's like really kind of getting to Omega. She's pretty like frustrated and upset. Mainly upset that he's not there, but also frustrated with the fact that it feels like the others, particularly Tech, seems like they don't care that Echo is gone almost. At least that's how it feels to her. So she finds this underwater, or not, sort of like cavern with ipsium. She tries to extract it. Tech goes to kind of talk with her. They end up falling down into this water cavern thing where there's even more ipsium. And then, actually, this is an important part of the episode, I thought, was because the way that Tech kind of just throws himself after her, I was like, a lot of the times Tech doesn't express himself verbally, but obviously, like, she falls, and without even a second thought, he just dives, not knowing where he's diving into. But obviously, he's trying to rescue Omega. So again, they have a touching moment afterwards too. Once they've both kind of emerged out of the water, she's visibly upset, and he more or less, I don't know how eloquent it was, but it was more or less that I know it doesn't seem like I don't have emotions, but I do care, is kind of the gist of what he said. And that seemed to resonate with Omega. At least she wasn't really upset anymore after that. Wrecker and Hunter come down to the cavern too. They use the ipsium to kind of blow their way out of the cave, and then reconnect with Sid, who tells them kind of reluctantly at first and almost doesn't respond, but tells them it's going to be a few days before they can get off this planet. So we might get like a part 2 on this planet in episode 10, I'm imagining. But that's the brief overview. Particularly the note that I most resonated with the episode was the Tech and Omega relationship. I think that's why I didn't mind the fact that it felt like another side mission, side quest, was that it was focused on something that hadn't been touched yet on the show. So that I appreciated. I have lots of other thoughts as to what was not included in the episode, but I'll let you cut in and maybe if you have any thoughts on the episode as a whole, or particularly with Tech and Omega.
I think the Omega and Tech scenes together were probably one of the more powerful scenes that I've seen this season. Particularly because, as you said, there has not been that connection between the two of them. There hasn't been moments like that. And you can actually see Tech being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Where he's trying to figure out exactly how do I explain myself? How am I able to tell you how I am? And I think he said it pretty good, where I may not show it like you, but it doesn't mean I don't hurt like you.
Yes. Yeah.
So that line, or what I may have paraphrased that, but essentially that line there, we all have feelings, we all have our own thoughts and how we process. I think that's what he said. I may not process the same, but it doesn't mean I don't feel the same as you. And I think that's a huge moment for Tech. It's a huge moment, obviously, for the two of them, but for the development of Tech, which out of the two of them, right, you're thinking that she's the one that needs the growth because she's the younger one. He's a soldier, all of this. But but in reality, he also needs that growth. He needs to understand that. And he even said, we're soldiers. And then Omega came back and said, well, we're family.
Right.
And and it was like an aha moment. And he's like, yeah, you're right. We are family. And this is how I do it. This is how I am a family. So that in the grand scheme of things with the Bad Batch, we are focusing on each of these characters and their particular growth and their connection to each other. This episode did a lot of that for these two characters. We could talk, and we'll talk about the mission. We'll talk about all that stuff that was just the storyline that that was there to help move that plot line along, which I honestly I was fine with it. I wrote that same thing, the Lion King stampede. I was waiting for um uh someone say long live the king,
Yeah.
whatever that line.
It was
I was waiting for something like that. I feel like they have a dartboard at Disney. Like what haven't we done yet in like 25 35 years?
But it was so blatantly Lion King. Like it was like, at least make the animals look different, or like, you know what I mean? It was like almost the exact thing as it felt like.
Yeah, because it was like in a canyon type thing, like where all of the animals had to filter into this one narrow area. And so I thought that was, I don't know if it's a callback. I'm not sure exactly. I don't know the connection.
Maybe.
I mean, obviously it's all Disney. It makes sense, I suppose. But I mean, be a little more subtle about it.
Yeah.
I was waiting for just Mufasa just to fall off from the cliff or something. So, but there's that, and apparently they have very, very bad weather on this planet because they're constantly running from storms. And what I wrote down is like, it's like when we're in Fortnite and the storm is coming. Like you're just constantly forgetting about it. Like, oh, we gotta go. So, and even at the end there, that's kind of what you were foreshadowing. They were in that little town that they were trying to get to hopefully, reach communication, send communication out, and that's when we see that they're able to talk to Sid. But after they're done with the conversation, or towards the end of that episode, you see that there's storms still kind of around the area.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like that's just going to be a constant issue that they're going to have to run into. And I mean, yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right that we're going to see a part 2 coming here in episode 10. Because I mean, they're still on the planet; they have no way of getting off.
Mm-hmm.
But I did want to mention the thief that took it. What do we? Who do we think this is? Did you have any like? That kind of reminds me of.
I didn't, to be honest with you, because I paused it and I looked at the thief, the one that stole the Marauder, and it looked like a human. So there's that, and. I didn't really have a good idea or a good guess as to who it might be. I feel like it's someone new. It didn't, at least from appearance, didn't seem to be someone who they had like reached back from the Clone Wars and were like, look who it is. Like, I think it was a female, but I'm not honestly sure. Why did you have a hunch at who that thief might be?
I know it's probably not this person because they're not of a human species, but Honda Onaka, the pirate that you kind of see he just pops up everywhere.
Yeah.
Just kind of had that same design look with the hair, and I think they had goggles and the hat, and so it kind of just reminded me of at least that style. Maybe not Honda themselves, but maybe another pirate inside of that particular, organization or something like that. And that's the kind of work that Honda or Hondo. I think it's
Hondo,
right? Yeah, Hondo. Honda is the car, right? Hondo. I feel like that maybe there's some connection there. That's the feel that I got from that character.
I could almost see that. I gotta go back and look at it again. I feel like the thought may have even crossed my mind. I don't know. The hair seemed short to me.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't like, but I think it wasn't.
Right, and I think Hondo has like long, like tentacle,
real long. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. That's my initial thought.
That'd be cool if we end up seeing him. A side note, Hondo is like arguably one of, if not the coolest character who has never made it into live action.
right?
I love
Well,
Hondo.
he is in he is at and at Disney World. He is
Oh,
part of
really?
that. Yeah, he is
That's
part of
cool.
one of the rides or one of the characters there that you see.
Huh. Interesting. Um, Another thought that I had with this episode, kind of more of a. I don't want to harp too much on the negative because this is a reoccurring thing that I think I've brought up with past episodes.
Hmm.
But I want to mention it particularly because in last week's podcast we talked about this hopefully being in episode 9, and it wasn't. And what we said was, I said I would be shocked if Crosshair is not in this episode, and he's nowhere to be found. And the way the episode ended makes it seem like we're probably going to be on this planet, which I don't know if we got the name of the planet
I
at
don't
any
remember the
point.
planet. Yeah.
We're going to be on this unknown planet for some of, if not all of, next episode too, which would be episode 10 of the season. So maybe we don't even see Crosshair again next episode. I mean, at
Yeah.
what point do we see him? Or I don't know anymore. And at what point are we going to see Echo again? It just feels like at some point this season, I would still be surprised if Echo and Crosshair are not back with Tech, Wrecker, Hunter, and Omega. I just feel like at one point in the rest of season 2, even if it's in the finale, I just want to see the 6 of them all together again. And then
Right.
I can be like, okay, see, this is what we're working towards.
Right. And I wonder if it has anything to do with how much longer the show is going for.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it goes for another season,
See,
I can kind of see
yeah,
that not quite happening here, and you build up one more step towards, at very most, I guess, you build one more step of Crosshair coming closer back to the Bad Batch, and that would take about an episode, and that could be the finale of the season.
mm,
And let's say season 3 is the final season, then you kind of resolve it all at the end of that one, right? So I I know you and I really do like Crosshair, so that's why it's kind of it's a little bit frustrating because we want to be able to see this. Now, I'm not mad at this episode. I enjoyed it. I liked what it brought. Like I said, that scene with with Tech and Omega, I think that was worth this episode.
mm.
But what we want from this season is more Crosshair. We that's this is what we want, and less Sid missions. So if we can somehow get those two, who was that director again that we wanted? Was it Luis? Was that the name of the,
Yeah, I think
the
that was
director
his
that we?
name. Yeah.
Yeah, we want more Luis episodes here. So I'm hoping we end off strong with one of those.
Mm.
But it's yeah, I mean I don't know. Yeah, I want to say we'll get another Crosshair episode, but it may be a finale type thing at this point because, like you said, we're gonna get these, this episode, the next episode are probably gonna be linked together, and then maybe there's an opportunity, but we thought that this was the opportunity for a Crosshair episode, so I'm not I'm not sure, but I think the part with Echo, I think that's probably going to. I mean, they continue to mention Echo's name here, in this episode. I know it's one episode past of when he had left, but they made a very big point about, how important Echo is to the Bad Batch. And, although I guess he disabled his comms, I think that's what Tech was saying. I, that for me anyway, that's enough for me to say, okay, well, we're gonna find out the other side of that. Like, what was Echo doing during the time when his comms were disabled with Rex? So that's what I'm kind of hoping for. So maybe that's the next episode after the part 2 of this resolves. Like, that would be episode 11.
Mhm.
So I mean, there's a lot that can happen here, but I think that yeah, I think it really depends on how much longer this series is going, and how they're gonna really spread across the Crosshair content here.
Yeah, that was another thought I had was I just feel like a lot of people have sort of lost steam with the show during the second season. I don't see this show going more than 3 seasons. episodes. I would be very shocked if it goes more than 3. And with the way the second season is gone, I just feel like there needs to be something that happens significantly to the overall story arc that makes an impactful note to get people to be like, all right, especially if the third season is marketed as like the final Bad Batch season, that, then it gets people into it, especially again, if something happens that's worth the overall story arc in the rest of season 2. So, kind of to conclude my thought on the Sid missions point, I was more okay with it because of the relationship point that was flushed out with Tech and Omega in this episode. But as far as I'm concerned, they've exhausted all their options when it comes to like significant character building. I mean, we've had multiple episodes with Omega and Hunter, kind of becoming this older brother, younger sister relationship. We've had at least 1 or 2 with earlier on in season, and I think in season 1 even as well, with Wrecker, kind of serving that same role. And we had it with Echo, and now we've had it with Tech. And so I'm like, okay, we've kind of focused in on each member of the Bad Batch's relationship with Omega at one point or another, sometimes multiple times. I don't feel like there's any excuse anymore to have a Sid mission.
Right. Yeah.
And if it is a Sid mission, it needs to be impactful in some way or another. So having said that, I am still looking forward to the rest of the season. I'm still enjoying season 2 of the Bad Batch. I want to see it go somewhere where a Sid mission is not what is kicking things off.
I know we sound critical. I know there are times when if you get like certain clips of our podcast, we get a little bit sour about Sid missions and things like that. But I think it's important to say that we are enjoying it. We are enjoying the season, kind of like what you said there, and we'll continue to enjoy it. I mean, it's Star Wars for the most part. You throw anything Star Wars our way, we will consume it, and we will talk about it and either we'll agree with it, disagree with it, but this is part of it. This is part of the enjoyment, oddly enough, is sometimes, picking out the little things that we don't like about it. Just because we want, we want what we want, and I can appreciate that from any angle. If there are people that are just loving these missions, then hey, more power to you. The Ipsium mission just reminded me a lot of Solo. With the is it coaxium? Was that what they were chasing the entire time? Yes. Right. So because like the unrefined it just reminded me of that. Like they're just trying to find this coaxium, unrefined, and then go to refine it. But it was just like that was the whole movie was that. So I'm just like, so it kind of gave me that feel, and I actually really enjoyed Solo. So kind of just reminding me of that. So I'm like, okay, I'm kind of cool with it, and I kind of like the drill tool that they had that drilled cool. It and then extracted it and everything. I'm like, okay, that's a pretty cool tool. And but yeah, so one thing I thought was going to happen when they had jumped into the water, because that was just littered with Ipsium, it looked like underneath, and I'm like, I wonder if there's any effects that happens to humans if you're like in water with it, and know, and I'm like, maybe it makes them like more force sensitive, or there's nothing. But yeah, I was waiting for something like a third hand to come out or something after they had all been in the water together with it.
Yeah, it's also an unwritten rule in Star Wars that every explosive rare mineral has to end with an eum.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
No, I think it'll be interesting to see. I think the one thing about this, season 2 of Bad Batch is I feel like we've had a lot of things inserted into the lore of Star Wars, which I think is one of the positives of biggest positives of the season. There was the weird, dinosaur walking thing a few episodes ago. You know what I'm talking about? That looked like I called it a dinosaur. I don't know if it had a real name.
with the huge laser that comes out of its chest.
Yeah. Like how is that going to pertain to the overall story of Star Wars? Now we have Ipsium, that's like this explosive mineral. Is that going to come into play again? So these are things that I think we could see pop up again within the greater context of the Star Wars universe. So on that account, I think there's some potential. But yeah, overall, I felt pretty good about the episode, and I appreciated what they did, kind of filling in that last peg, so to speak, of the relationship between Tech and Omega. Um, Having said that, I'll go B minus for my grade because I was really close to going C, but I want to be fair to the episode because I did like the Tech and Omega stuff a lot. Um, I think that grade most accurately reflects how I felt at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I would say B minus as well, and for the same reasons. I think if you don't have that Tech and Omega scene, or that the development of their relationship, this is easily a C minus
Hmm.
episode because literally nothing else happens really. So I
Yeah,
think but it was so powerful to me, just the way that, again, the way Tech was vulnerable and was able to communicate exactly how he was feeling about everything, although he had never ever done that before, to our knowledge,
right.
and to seem to be able to verbalize it to Omega and recognize them as a family. I think those types of things really do matter, and I think it was great. So yeah, I'll give it a B minus also.
Think we're on the same page in terms of the grading. I figured we could also kind of do a quick yes or no game,
Oh,
just
okay.
sort of looking ahead to the rest of the season, get your thoughts on what you think may be in store for us. Essentially, I'm going to give you a character who some of which we haven't seen in a while, and yes or no, will they appear in the rest of season 2 of Bad Batch?
Okay.
All right, this one we've already discussed a little bit, but Crosshair.
Yes.
Okay, I also think yes. Rex.
No.
Okay, no. So on a similar note, Echo.
Yes.
Ooh, interesting. So okay, you're saying yes to Echo, yes to Rex.
No, no, no to
Oh,
Rex.
I'm sorry, no to Rex. I,
Yes to Crosshair.
I'll say yes to both.
Okay.
Even if it's just brief. Commander Cody.
No.
Okay. I think I had one more. Oh, actually two more, and they kind of also go hand in hand. Bail Organa.
Oh, I want them to, but no, I don't think so.
Okay, I also would lean no. And then Senator Chuchi.
Oh, good one. I actually do think that she'll be back.
I am so 50-50 on this one. And
Yeah.
and for the sole reason that I loved her character so much, I'm gonna flip yes
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just
And I
take the
think
hopeful side.
and I think that's why. I think people really, I think they knew when they brought her in that, she's going to be pretty vital to the storyline,
Hmm.
because she is literally the voice of the clones, right?
Yeah.
So I think if the story, a larger story here, that in the Bad Batch, is what's going to happen with all the clones. I would think that would just make sense to have her come back at
Hmm.
some point in the season.
Yeah. Yeah, I sure hope so. Again, she's been my favorite character that they've introduced this season easily. I don't even know who would come close as a second. um,
Wait, what did you think about Cody?
I loved his story arc. I just wish they would do something with it now. You know what I
Do you
mean?
think he comes back?
Oh, did I not give my answer for
No, not
Cody?
for that one. Not for Cody.
Cody's tough. I'm gonna say no, but he does in season 3.
Yeah, I would say, everyone I said no to, I think they're in season 3 though.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's worth noting that I want season 3 of this show because I think I'm resigned to the fact that this is not going to be what we get out of season 2. I want season 3 to be about the clones fully. Like, let's dive more into so even the origins of the clones. I think would be really cool. Give us some Boba Fett meets Omega. It's like they're technically siblings. Like, I want
Mhm.
some of that
Yes.
dynamic going on. Like, if we get some
Yes.
Boba Fett in Bad Batch, we're back, baby.
Yes.
um,
Daniel Logan, who played Boba Fett, right? The younger Boba Fett.
mhm.
I think he would be absolutely down. So
Yeah,
sign him up.
I think it's on the table, and I think if there's anything they can do to promote the third season of this show, which I would assume is likely going to be the last season, maybe a fourth, but I would lean towards no, is bring Boba Fett back. I think that's the play. What I don't know. That's what I think.
Yes. Oh, who do we write? Do you have John Favreau's or anyone's email or anything? We could just
let's just Twitter DM.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Filoni and Favreau.
Filoni, yeah. Hey, we got an idea.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how many DMs they probably get if
DMs are open? I bet you they're not even on. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, can you even imagine? Yeah, they have their own Twitter servers. You can
probably. Well, overall, a pretty middle of the road Bad Batch episode. We would say, both of us giving it a B- grade. Not bad, but the focus again on Tech and Omega, I think, was what made the episode for us. But at this point, we have 7 episodes left of Bad Batch Season 2. Looking forward to Episode 10. Again, that's probably going to be a Part 2 of the Episode 9 arc that we just watched on this unknown planet, which we still, I don't think, know the name of. If there is a name to this planet and we're not aware of it, and you're watching on YouTube, comment down below what the name of that planet was, as I am unaware if there was a name. But in any other regards, we are excited for all of the Star Wars content coming our way. I mean, this is like, I know we've been saying it for a while now, but we're real close now. We're 2 weeks away from the premiere of Season 3 of Mandalorian, which, by the way, if you haven't watched our reaction to the brand new TV spot of Mandalorian Season 3 that just came out yesterday or 2 days ago at the time of your watching this, I believe it was just called Ready. That's available and up on the Hoth Hangout YouTube channel if you want to check that out. And as well, subscribe to the Hoth Hangout YouTube channel. We're also available in audio format on Spotify and Apple. And again, you can always get a hold of us via Twitter at Hoth Hangout, hothhangout@gmail.com if you want to shoot us an email with any thoughts or questions on anything Star Wars related or not Star Wars related. What's your favorite type of sushi, as we opened with this episode? And then a couple more things, which I've also managed to leave out up until this point. I think this was announced before our last podcast episode, and we definitely talked about it and mentioned it. But May the 4th this year, Star Wars Day, we're getting Season 2 of Star Wars Visions. One of my personal favorite Star Wars projects, arguably, this might upset people, arguably my favorite Star Wars project that Disney has done.
Don't do it again.
I won't say I like it more than Mando, but it's very close. It's very close. And then again, Jedi Survivor, which comes out now on April 28th after being pushed back about 6 weeks. Oh, one more thing, and I don't know how much of our listener base is interested in this. If you have kids, maybe they would be interested in this. Star Wars Young Jedi Adventures was also announced that it's going to be coming out on May the 4th on Disney Plus for streaming. So if you're not familiar with what that is, it's essentially like, imagine Backyardigans or Wonder Pets or any like traditional children's TV show that you're aware of, but Star Wars. And there was one character from, do you remember his name? There's been memes going around of this character. Have you seen the picture of this, Joey?
I don't think I have.
His name is, oh gosh, let's see if I can find it real quick. He was like the little blue guy. Nubs is his name.
Nubs. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're not familiar, look up Nubs. He is like all the rays right now on
Yes.
on Star Wars Twitter and Star Wars Reddit. He's this cute little blue fluffy bear looking thing with a lightsaber. Anyways,
with 2 teeth.
Yeah, 2 teeth. I actually am probably gonna watch this show. I don't know how much we'll actually cover it. Maybe we'll do like a brief synopsis or something. But yeah, if you've got kids and you want to get them into Star Wars, maybe start with this new show that comes out here in less than 3 months called Star Wars Young Jedi Adventures.
This is before Order 66, right? Oh god.
Not just the men and the women. No, that got kind of dark.
This is Star Wars. This is what happens. Okay.
Yeah. Any last thoughts on kind of Bad Batch or Star Wars as a whole moving into the next few weeks?
No, I'm excited. We'll, like you said, we've got all this content coming. I think we've from whenever Bad Batch started to up till May. We're gonna have lots of content. We're gonna have Mandalorian. We're gonna finish off the season. We're gonna have Visions. We're gonna have all. I mean, that's just a ton, just loading up, and we still don't know dates for Ahsoka. We
Yeah.
don't know. We don't know. Was it the Acolyte? I think that's next year, though, right?
Yeah, I don't think they've officially said it's 2024, but at this point,
Okay.
it feels pretty safe to say that it's not going to be in 2023. But
Right, yeah.
Ahsoka likely will be sometime in the late fall, if I had to guess a date. But no
Right,
date
yeah.
has officially been announced. Yeah.
So yeah, and I know Star Wars Celebration is coming up
Mm-hmm.
also. I think that's in April, if I'm not mistaken. So just lots of Star Wars happening. And as I said before, it's just a great time to be a fan. And if you're not, jump in and all this stuff, get immersed in it. Watch people's podcasts and listen to other people's thoughts, and but don't argue. Don't everyone's got their opinions. We're all gonna enjoy together.
This is true. We will definitely be enjoying. Once again, if you have not yet managed to catch our reaction to the new Mandalorian Season 3 TV spot, again, check that out over on the Hoth Hangout YouTube. And thanks again so much for listening to the Hoth Hangout podcast. We appreciate each and every single one of you very much. And we look forward to all the new Star Wars content coming our way here in the very near future. It's going to be great. Thanks so much, as always, for listening. And may the Force be with you.